Today's episode, we're starting off by getting straight into the action against the Guardians. As you can see, we are 43-29, actually in first place in the division. The Guardians have historically been the toughest team in this division to beat over the last several years, not having the best start to this one, but always good to check in on a division rival. And as you can see, Russell Mosqueda, a big reason why we are winning. We'll take a look at everyone's stats at the end of this episode. And of course, along with the gameplay, we will also be previewing the draft. As I said in last episode, we're going to start going pretty quickly through the regular seasons here. We're in year 8. Don't see much value in spending a ton of time in the regular season anymore. I think we have a lot of great players. We just need to move along with their development. One of those great players here is Edgar Torres, who has the lowest whip here on the team, ERA in the low 4s, which of course isn't excellent by any means, but you know, with the pitching that we've had on this team, it's pretty dang good. We haven't really had a ton of great pitching here in the bigs. Ahmed Rosario up to the plate. There's a man in scoring position for Cleveland, and Rosario is going to bring him home. Another thing we did last episode was change the sliders, increasing both contact and power by 1. So hoping to see more offense, as I'd kind of remarked that we'd seen a lot of these, 2-1 baseball games, and those just don't really excite me anymore here in year 8. I feel like I'd like to see a little bit more offense and at least better replicates what we see in real baseball, as we'll be taking on Shane Bieber, one of the best pitchers in all of baseball. So if we can have a good offensive performance against him, I think it will say a lot, as we'll start the game with a walk. Very controversial, I think, call there, but Alden Evans has not been batting great this year, and starting with grounding into a double play, certainly not going to help his cause, as Rincon draws a walk himself. 2 walks drawn here, bottom of the first. Brings up Mosqueda, been our best player this year, but it's going down swinging here, so Bieber gets out of the inning without allowing a run. Did get a couple guys on base, though. Of course, Alden Evans grounding into a double play is definitely an inning killer. Chase DeLauder is going to get on base here to lead off the second with the single. Torres, bat broken there, trying to go for 2. We'll get the first out. Acrobatic throw from Mosqueda, but it's not in time. So we'll settle for just the 1. Sandoval trying to throw out the runner, and he's going to do just that. That was a perfectly placed throw. Boyer did not need to move that glove at all to tag out the runner. Torres here going to allow the walk, something he's done a great job of avoiding this year, which is really contributing to his whip. And then he ends the inning with that strikeout. Nicely done. Full count here, and another borderline pitch that's going to be called for a ball. We're getting maybe some lucky walks here. I think Bieber's actually done a great job on these 3-2 pitches, just not getting the calls to go his way. Overall, this game, it was a hitter-friendly situation for these borderline calls in general. Sandoval, lazy fly out to left center. He's going to get the first out, but we've got some guys on base, 1 in scoring position. Got to bring these guys across. Instead, Darren Roman is going to ground into a double play for the second time this game. Not a great look in the second for our offense. Thompson, that one is going to be run down by McIntyre. Nice effort out in center field. His excellent speed is why he's been a staple in our outfield from episode 1. Jimenez going down swinging. Torres, not an excellent strikeout pitcher, but getting quite a few today, but that one was left right over the middle, and it's going to be down for an extra base hit to left field. Ahmed Rosario brought home the first run, now gets himself an extra base hit. He's having a nice game against us. Trying to go for the steal here, but gonna be caught by Sandoval again, having an excellent game behind the plate at that catcher spot. Boyer almost got on base there, but the diving play at first by Naylor gets him out. McIntyre goes down swinging as the order flips over here in the third, and it looks like our offense is struggling yet again. Alden Evans 0 for 1, only hitting .220 on the year, and if you're hitting .220 and contact is the only thing you do on the baseball field, maybe it's time to look for a change. He's been very up and down since we've come to the majors. Torres, that one is going to hit down for a base hit for DeLauder. Much like he did the last time he was up. Very similar hit. Arias gets that over the head of Boyer. Cleveland stringing together some hits, something that this team just cannot seem to do. Trying to keep Cleveland just to that one run and the lazy fly up to left field. Got pretty deep there, but nonetheless, Torres gets out without allowing a run. Rincon solidly hit, but can't find the gap. Full count for Mosqueda. That one is going to be into foul territory and caught. And it's looking like yet another scoreless inning, man. It seems like it's the same story. Even with the new sliders, it's the same story. 9 out of 10 games with this team. Like, can we just get some offense? I mean, I'm not kidding when I'm saying I'm getting really tired of these 2-1 baseball games, and it's looking like this is heading towards it yet again. I mean, it's nice to see our pitchers, having good games all the time. That's fun as Guerra just sells that, throw it to first, but it won't hurt us. But nice double play there from Rincon. Gets the catch and the tag out. Getting really sick of just watching the same thing every game. Ground outs and flyouts left and right. We don't strike out a ton, but man, we can't string together hits despite the fact that we are the best contact team in baseball. We don't have enough power to do that reliably. It looks like the sliders are not making much of a difference here through 5 innings. Another scoreless one for us. I mean, we drew those 2 walks in the first, and that's probably our best inning. We didn't even get any hits there. Naylor singles here, top of the 6th. Going around, that one is Yoanski Noel, Chase DeLauder gonna get his 3rd single. He is just hitting these singles every time consistently. Something that we can't do. I wish we could at least hit consistent singles. I'd love to hit the home runs and the extra base hits too, but we can't even get singles right now. Another walk here. That's one thing we have been able to do today is draw some walks. Again, I don't know if all of them have truly been earned, but here we go. Carl McIntyre finally finds the gap. Gonna be for extra bases. Could even bring home a run, and that's exactly what it's gonna do is McIntyre with a triple. I feel like an extra base hit deserves like the home run music at this point in this series, man. It's so rare. But McIntyre comes through for us. Definitely not the first time we've seen him triple in this series. Good contact player with elite speed, and that's what you'll get. Alden Evans needs something from him here. Show me that you're worth being in the lineup, and that's exactly the opposite of it. Swinging to that curve, my reaction is similar to David Ross's there. Like, what is this guy? I think we may have seen the last of Alden Evans in this series with this episode. It's just been 2 bad seasons out of 3. And if you can only do one thing in baseball and you're not doing it well, that probably means you don't deserve to be out there with the squad. Despite the fact that we are doing well and you don't want to change things up too much when things are working. But I feel like replacing Alden Evans is a smart move at this point. But we do finally get on the board. Complained about no offense. Hey, you complain about stuff, and you get what you want sometimes. That's just how it goes in baseball. So I should just be complaining in inning one where there's not enough scoring, and then our team will do well, apparently. Nice effort once again from McIntyre. Has been running down a couple of these balls pretty well for us here today. Nice reaction by Guerra is going to get us through the top of the seventh. Zach Gallen comes into the game for Cleveland, and Guerra going to start the seventh with a single. Gallen, of course, a very good pitcher. Now a little bit past his prime maybe here at this point in this series in 2030. Kevin Sandoval line drives it to center. Boyer right up the middle, going to get through the infield, and it's going to have a man on first and second. 2 down, top of the order back up. McIntyre got the triple his last time up, and now he's getting another one. Not necessarily a triple, but another excellent hit. That one just screeching into right field. Boyer going home, and he just got there safely. That was a very close play, and McIntyre heard the complaints and responded to them. Now, 2 consecutive hits that have brought home a run have been up for extra bases, and that one brought home 2. And now we're talking bang, bang there with Blake Boyer at home plate. Alvin Evans, once again, just goes out because that's the only thing he knows how to do in baseball, apparently. Rivera comes in for us here in the 8th. Gets the first ground out there. 0-2 now for Rosario. He's had a good game for Cleveland. Probably been their best offensive player. I can't speak right now, but 2 down now here, top of the 8th. Naylor needs to make something happen instead. That one's a lazy fly into foul territory. Guerra tracks it down. And now we've got bottom of the 8th. Could be our last time we see the offense here today. Rincon nearly got a hit there, but is caught by Naylor. Mosquera couldn't get that one gloved by Rosario, so he's going to reach base. That would be called a base hit, bringing up Jason Gill, who was down 0-2. Zach Littell in the ball game, and with a nice slider, gets Gill down looking. Guerra up next. Gonna single this one into left center. So we'll have a man in scoring position as well as a man on first for Sandoval. This one gets past the glove of Naylor into right field. Very similar to the McIntyre hit, though not quite as hard. And just like that hit, it's bringing across 2 runs and probably sealing the deal here today. Through 5 innings, 0 runs, but then 6 runs in the next 3 innings. That's exactly the kind of turnaround you like to see. And like I said, complain and good things will happen to you. So take that as a life lesson today for you. I don't know if that actually applies to life, but it certainly applied to today's game, man. I was getting close to just simulating the rest of this game. I was getting annoyed, I'm going to be honest, through 5 innings. But we were playing a really good pitcher today in Shane Bieber, and so you have to take that into account too. Even with the increased sliders, when you're playing one of the best pitchers in the game, you're not always going to have a good day. And so I got to give the offense a little bit of slack for that. Richie Rivera would come in, seal the deal, and it's a 6-1 Chicago White Sox victory. And you're seeing why this team is first in the division. We can absolutely get hot at any given moment. That 3 innings stretch of 6 runs, and I think 8 of our hits, or maybe 7 of our hits, came in those 3 innings as well. And so that's the kind of offensive run that you see in the good teams in baseball. I'm glad to see that our team was able to do it here today. And maybe got to see a little bit of those increased sliders coming into play in those last innings. Don't know if we would have scored 6 innings on what the sliders have been previous to this episode. But regardless, awesome victory for the boys. I imagine it's going to be Carl McIntyre winning player of the game, as he brought in a lot of runs and he really started this offensive run for the team. Guardians 11 hits, but especially Torres did an excellent job of making sure the guys in scoring position did not score. Now let's go ahead and preview the draft. We have the number 7 pick here in this one. We're at the point in the series where I don't know how impactful the draft is going to be. I think there's maybe a spot or two we could improve, but of course, still going to go over some of my favorite prospects for the number 7 pick. Once again, looking at maybe some position players more than the pitching, but Rico Collado here at first base, a righty hitter, looks to be somebody that's going to be a lefty masher for sure. That power versus lefties is going to start off well. How often are you going to face lefties is the real problem though, but vision and discipline also in a nice spot. Not a fielder at all. Would be probably projected to be the guy to replace Darren Roman in our DH spot should we draft him. Definitely, I think that is going to be on the table for us. Another guy I really like, probably my favorite player, between him and maybe a couple of outfielders that we'll preview in a second, but he's got good two-way ability here in Arnaz. He has good power. Once again, more against lefties than righties here, but his contact and vision and discipline aren't in a great spot, but he does have good fielding, which of course is important for a shortstop. Been looking for, a shortstop that could be a good fielder and maybe provide some power. Really the only thing he doesn't have is his contact hitting and the plate skills, but also not a great athlete, but still fielding and power. I think that's a pretty good and intriguing duo. I like him quite a bit. A couple other guys that I've scouted that I like here in right field. Stanley Guzman here first. Another guy who I think he might be the best player in the class when it's all said and done. But he's more just kind of solid around the board. He doesn't project to be insanely good at anything, but I think he's going to be solid. His fielding's not great, but his arm is good enough, I think, for the outfield. Still more of a contact hitter than a power hitter, but the vision and discipline are good too. And then Johnny Hill here. Gonna have some good speed, gonna have the accurate arm. Maybe not the craziest upside, but we do see another switch hitter, which of course is something we have been stockpiling all throughout this series. So I like Johnny Hill as a guy who's gonna come in and maybe be able to contribute early with that overall range. Upside, not as much, but I mean, we have plenty of upside on this team. I'm kind of looking at this point in the series for people who can come in early, and I think Johnny Hill can. So these two outfielders and the shortstop and the first baseman are kind of the big four. I think one of them, I'm fairly confident one of them will be available at 7. There's also Devin Puckett here, who our scouts are saying is the number 1 player in the class. Of course, we only have him at 80% scouted, but I just don't quite see it. I think walks per 9 are a little bit low. Velocity is a little bit low. Of course, velocity isn't everything. His pitches look like they'll be fast enough. Gonna have a good hits per 9, which is gonna really be carrying his overall. Control will be okay, but we all know how important walks per 9 is. But he does have a really good overall and potential range here, so I could see why our scouts rank him as number 1. I just think a couple of those position players that we previewed might be a little bit better. Somebody that might be available in the second round here is Valentine. Really nice pitch mix for him. Walks per 9 are going to be really good. Strikeouts per 9 are going to be awful though. So I don't know how I feel about that. Reggie Hewitt at least has a chance to be somebody available in the second. I don't think he will be. He's probably actually my favorite pitcher that we've previewed so far. Marcos Del Villar, somebody that we discovered. So those guys always have a chance. 5 pitch mix, velocity is pretty solid. Stamina's a little low though for a starter. And then Jim Rivera, I think, has the best chance to be available if we want to go starting pitcher in the second round. I think he'll be okay. I don't think he's anything special, but could be a solid pick. And then Kevin Foster. All these guys, our scouts are saying are top 10 picks in the class. I only see it with a couple of these guys, if I'm being honest. Closer is something I've been trying to find now for many years on end, and it looks like we're just not getting these good closer classes, unfortunately. Freddie Miller, though, I think not going to be the highest upside guy, but has a chance to, you know, come and be in the bullpen starting immediately. So if he's available in the second round, I think I really like the prospects of getting him. Just hits per 9, excellent velocity and break as well. So if he can make it to us, I would be more than okay with that. And that's pretty much it. I will say, discovery wise, one of our worst classes I think ever for discovery. We discovered a ton of players, just none of them were really all that good. Here in week 14, I should probably find maybe a couple more players to scout. Ma, I know, is going to be bad in terms of his potential, because his potential is only one higher than his overall. But screw it, we'll do that, and then we could finish on Orlando Kelly. Orlando Kelly is the best position player that our Discovery Scout found. Actually, there was one center fielder that I think is worth at least a look. Which one of these guys was it? They're both honestly kind of bad. At least Quevedo could be a good fielder, so we'll scout him, and that will be what we'll do here with the last week. But to finish off this episode, we're just gonna take a look at the team now. 48 and 35, still number one in the division, have a 5-game lead in it. Very much so an improvement on what we've seen in the first couple of seasons at the majors. We are no longer bottom 5 in anything. We're borderline with defense and power. We're just outside the bottom 5 there. And then we're also just outside bottom 10 pitching wise. But our 11th ranked is really being carried by our number 1 in contact. Let's take a look at where some of these guys are at stats wise. Mosqueda, 307 with 23 home runs. He is absolutely killing it. Love to see that. Rincon, 287 here, 16 home runs. All of his stats are up. Power at 80 and versus righties, and 70 versus lefties. Both exactly, you know, a nice divisible number right there. Clean look for him. He's up to 91 overall. Sandoval on a cold stretch, but he still has 273 with 14 home runs, as we're roughly halfway through the season. I think just barely, like a game or two over halfway through. So, you know, you project these to double. I mean, we're talking 130 RBIs for Mosqueda if that doubles. 100 RBIs, another 30. You know, what we've seen from him, kind of the 100 RBIs, 30 home run. Very consistent. Sandoval, I think, is in line for his best yet. He's already passed last year's number. He did get hurt for a bit last year, but I think he's on pace for his best year. He did have a higher average his first year, but his slugging is up, and his OPS is really similar. The power is up. McIntyre, only 242, not quite where you want it to be for your leadoff hitter, obviously, but well, it's not like a problem area, I would say. Tom Williamson has a 4.05 ERA. His WHIP, though, is down from last year, and his K per 9s is up into the double digits, which is really nice to see. Gill, over 300, has 9 home runs. He's on pace for his best average season, while also being like pretty online with what he's shown power-wise throughout his career. Bartolo Ordonez, he's really good in simulation, which is really nice to see. His best season so far for sure. 26 saves to 2 blown saves. He was really good in that area last season too. He's just pitching better overall. Strikeouts per 9, really nice for him. Pringle, struggling. He's kind of up and down. He's had over 5 ERA, under 4, over 5 again. You know, over 1.5 WHIP, then 1.33, and then back up to 1.5. Very much so all over the place. Still has a positive WAR though, which don't know how. Edgar Torres, he has our actual lowest WHIP with his ERA solid, So we don't have any dominating pitchers, but we have a couple that are having, solid enough years, especially considering how young they are. I mean, we're talking about a 19-year-old and a 20-year-old. Them pitching at this level in the bigs is perfectly fine. Esteban Acevedo, much improved over last year. WHIP's still a little high, but ERA is fine enough. WAR is positive over that 1 strikeout per inning mark. Then Fernando Bruno, on a hot streak right now, but has struggled overall. I think if he can get things going with this hot streak, we might keep him in. If not, though, he's done. And then Alden Evans, talked about him, just has been awful once again. He was disappointment of the year, then surprise player of the year, and then came back and just sucked again. We gave him back his potential, and he's just not done anything with it. He is out of our lineup. Chet Rodriguez has replaced him. He's on a cold streak right now, but has been batting exponentially better. So like that. Boyer on a cold streak here. His numbers are still up across the board. Average is up from last year, but down from his first year. And he's just one of the guys on the team. Should we think about replacing him at this point? I haven't really thought about it because he does have that A potential, and he's just been a long way getting there. I think we just still keep giving him some time to reach his potential. He's just a little bit further behind in his development than some of the other hitters on this team. Ornelas is killing it in his 38 innings so far. And then Moya is our best player right now in the minors. Definitely could think about, if Fernando Bruno continues to struggle, we could bring Diego Moya up and have him replace him. I think he's right around that overall where it's worth giving it a shot. Ray Beasley, another one of our prospects, not doing great. Hitting below 240 here. So don't know about him coming up anytime soon. Guerra, his stats, -5 contact versus lefty. He hasn't hit a lefty all season, it looks like. So his hitting is not getting better. Not terrible year, though. OPS is at least above 700 for a guy who's 18 years old. You'll take it. Not quite providing the power I was hoping he would. Not that his power's in a great spot by any means. I think that's pretty much it. I think one more guy, Darren Roman, we can check in on him. His numbers are, of course, always going down, which is why in the draft, getting somebody to replace that DH spot is not a bad idea. We got him to kind of fill an immediate need. We knew he wasn't going to have a ton of long-term potential, and his stuff just keeps going down year by year, even though he hasn't been terrible by any means, I don't think. It's definitely a down year for him, though. His average is technically up, but this is a 20-plus home run guy. His first 2 years, he's on pace for not even 15 this season. So getting a replacement for him, I think, is good in the lineup. Whether that end up being Garrett Guerra and we draft, that shortstop or whatever it may be, I think Darren Roman's probably the guy we try to replace in our lineup this season. But anyway, that's kind of it for this episode. All I wanted to take care of. We will be back with the draft next episode. We'll see who we can add to the squad, and maybe that could be the final piece to this team becoming a World Series caliber team. We'll find out soon enough, and I'll see you then.